I've been thinking a lot about PizzaGate and kind of why it's bullshit. And it's just, to me, you can't implicate people on pedophile charges just because of their artwork and uh, pizza text messages, right? I got a pizza text messages last night and it was for actual pizza, right? I think we're getting ourselves into a ridiculous lane with that conspiracy theory, and that's a real bad conspiracy theory that does a disservice and a disjustice to the people who are actually doing this work and who are actually uh, getting busy and doing these things and finding this truth, right? Shit like John Podesta, I'm just so sick of fucking John Podesta. Enough with John Podesta and his artwork. When you find actual evidence on the guy, let me know, right? I want to see actual evidence. Now, there's something that I do want to dive into because there's actual evidence on Jeffrey Epstein being a pedophile, right? And he had the Lolita Express. And I was thinking about that, and I'm thinking about how these elites do things, and they're very literate, and they know the people are not, right? The base is not literate. They like to watch TV, and when they get off work, people don't like to read things, right? So there was an era and a time where you could have something like the Lolita Express and it would go over the heads of many people, right? So to me, the elites do a lot of communicating through literary references, right? So if there was something that you did want to look at, to me, literary references is certainly something to look into, although I'm not implicating anybody in anything, and you should really have evidence before you implicate somebody in something that is as serious as pedophilia, right? That being said, I was thinking about Lolita. I was thinking about that novel. It's a novel, if you don't know. Lolita's a novel by Vladimir Nabokov, right? It was written in 1955, and it's about Humbert, and Humbert was a European professor, and he becomes infatuated with a 12-year-old Dolores Lolita Hayes, right, the daughter of his landlady Charlotte, right? And I always thought about that name, Humbert, right? Because I do a little bit of reading, not a lot, but a little bit, and certain things in literary works call your attention. For instance, that Humbert name really calls your attention. Why did they write it twice? Why did Vladimir Nabokov write it twice? Right? That is something to me that I was just thinking about it, and of course I put it in the Gematria just to see, and it turns out it's 33 in reduction. Right? This to me is a very interesting, obvious coding because there are certain what I've begun to notice, excuse me, is that there are certain writers who are definitely into gematria and doing this kind of stuff and doing this kind of coding. Also, in the book, Humbert dies at the age of 42, and 42 like Freemason in full reduction. Also, Lolita dies at the age of 17, 17 like Mason, right? Just before she becomes like legal, in a sense. And 17 is legal in New York, by the way. But yeah, but again, the elites hide things in literary references, right? So if you wanted to really look toward certain kinds of coding, a lot of it is hidden in some of these popular literary works, right? To me, Pizzagate is a one that you probably barking up the wrong tree trying to flag down people who are talking about pizza in text. It's just sort of in emails. It's just sort of crazy, right? Pizza also 33 in reduction, by the way. But yeah, I think you have to have more evidence than people talking about pizza. I guess it's a maybe an interesting thing to note. I don't know. Again, I don't trust anything that comes out of WikiLeaks. To me, there's no hacker that's gonna ever go on the mainstream media and talk to the media. That's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. So that right there is a red flag. And Julian Assange has been on the mainstream media several times. So that should be a red flag. But yeah, so with the Pizzagate shit, David Seaman and all these guys, just that stuff, I would look away from that stuff. And I would go into actual evidence.